Welcome, everybody, to episode 65 of UnHacked. We are here to help business owners navigate the chaos of cyber threats and come out hopefully stronger, smarter, and more secure. We've been doing this for a while, a little bit over a year now. And if y'all remember back to I turned text in there for a minute. If y'all remember back to episode 34, we had a special guest on here. And I love the fact that we are back together again. So, quick introductions. I am Justin Shelley, CEO of Phoenix IT Advisors, and I help businesses build their wealth through technology and then protect it from the bad guys, who I like to call Russian hackers, and Mario always disagrees with me, and the government, who's going to come around and, you know, give you a nice little fine, penalty, and maybe jail time. I've heard that one kicked around if you don't do things right. And then, oh, Robert's got a look on his face. We'll come back to that. And finally, the attorneys. Class action lawsuits are going crazy these days if we don't do things right. So that's what I do, is I protect you from all that nonsense. And I'm here, as always, with my good friend, Mario Zaki. Mario, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and who you do it for.
Yeah, Mario Zaki, CEO of Mastech IT, located in New Jersey, about 15 miles away from Manhattan. We specialize in helping small to medium-sized businesses stay safe protect their businesses, not only from the Russians, but from the Chinese, the Koreans, and everybody else around that area. And we specialize in also keeping business owners, give them the ability to sleep better at night, knowing that their businesses will be safe the next day.
Beautiful. And today we are joined by Robert Cioffi. See, I did it wrong. I've got it wrong. Every time I say this in my head, I say it wrong.
Listen, we practiced this for like 20 minutes already.
I know, we did. Yeah. We did. Robert, say your name properly as a true Italian.
So as a true Italian, it would be Cioffi, but Cioffi is fine. Cioffi is close enough. So.
And Cioffi is wrong, and that's the way I always say it. So welcome, Robert. Yeah. Thank you for being back with us again. Really do appreciate it. So guys, if you remember back to episode 34, and if you weren't around as one of our faithful fans and loyal followers back then, go ahead and rewind. Hit that rewind button on your cassette player. Go back to episode 34, hit stop, then hit play, and take a listen to what we talked about. Robert is one of the few people who I know anyways, who has been through a major attack. And Robert, I learned not to say breach from you.
Thank you.
And came out, I would say, better, stronger, more intelligent through that process. Is that fair to say?
Definitely more intelligent, I think.
Okay.
Okay. And definitely more experienced. Certainly better. Possibly stronger. Yeah, I would maybe check all those boxes.
Okay. Yeah. So, Robert, one of the main pain points I have as a cybersecurity specialist, an MSP, whatever you want to call us, a technology guy, is that my job, like it or not, is to protect people, like I said, from the hackers, from the government, and from the attorneys. But it's rare that I live in ground zero, and those who do rarely talk about it. So what we get to talk about is frameworks, and we're going to come back to that. We get to talk about insurance. We get to talk about just stuff that we can gather after the fact, but rarely do we really get to see behind the curtain. So that's kind of what we dove into in episode 34. And I'd like to start with a recap for those that didn't listen to it. Tell us briefly what happened.
Briefly is going to be hard, but I'll do my best to encapsulate what is arguably probably a 2-hour seminar on exactly what happened to us, and a forthcoming book, by the way. Hint, hint.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's really a long story, but essentially January, listen to me already, I've screwed it up. July 2nd of 2021, we were one of the Kaseya VSA victims. So there were about 60 MSPs worldwide, 50, 60, I don't know the exact number, that were victimized by a threat actor who broke in through a backdoor, essentially a zero-day exploit of the Kaseya VSA RMM tool, and used that tool to upload Revel Sode no Kibi to 100% of my customers. That was 80 clients in 200 physical locations, 4 time zones, 2,500 endpoints, of which were about 250 servers, 100% ransomed, encrypted in a matter of an hour and a half. That's what SSD drives do, by the way. Makes ransomware installation just that
Faster.
much faster, right?
I remember that now. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my story is not so much the technical details of what happened, although I do talk about those things. That's not the important part. The important part was the human side of the story, the psychological and emotional, and even the physical stress that I underwent, our company underwent, our clients underwent. Um, and if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, and if you are not, then we can't be friends. Um,
Well,
but
this
who
episode's over. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
kidding.
exactly. But what IT geek in the world is not a former D&D player or active one or a Lord of the Rings fan, right? You're shame, Justin,
I
shame.
hang my head
No,
in shame.
I have my dice, right behind me. We
Oh,
can start a campaign anytime you like.
teach me. I want to learn, a wise one.
Essentially, what this tale was like the scene. If you've watched the movies or read the books, it's the Riders of Rohan showing up just as it seems like evil was going to conquer good. And the tide of the battle had changed. Essentially, what had happened for us is that many people in the community, both on the MSP side as well as the solution partner side, right? Vendors like ConnectWise and Axient. Axient really is critical to this. Huntress is so critical to our story, but also friends from coast to coast, New York to LA, Maine to Florida, Texas to Minneapolis, and all points in between, who physically flew, not just business leaders, but also technicians, came to our office here in Yonkers, New York, lost in the northern shadows of New York City, but came here to assist us with recovery efforts. So within about 17 calendar days, we were able to recover just about 98% of our customers to about a 98% state.
Wow.
And we would not have survived this event had it not been for the kindness and compassion and empathy of all of those organizations that I've mentioned and the countless MSPs and other technical people who just said, "How do I help?" Right? They were not looking to steal my customers. They were not
Right.
looking to get paid, although we paid lots of them. It's not what their objective was. Their objective was, we have a friend who is down and in need, and who is in a very bad, dark place, and we need to be able to lift them up. So that is the crux of the story. Like I said, it's about a 2-hour presentation that I put on that covers this in greater detail. And that's about as compressed of a version as I can give you.
No, that's perfect. But I would like to plug. Do you have that available for people to watch, your 2-hour presentation, or is that a
Um,
theoretical?
well, the podcast that you mentioned is, I think will give viewers and listeners here. What was that, episode 34?
34?
Right.
Yeah.
So that probably is enough to give people a good enough sampling. And then, listen, I'm out in the community all of the time. At many
Yes.
events, giving this presentation in various forms and formats. There's plenty of other, places online that you can find me where I talk about this. But some of those longer versions were for private events, so
Okay.
I don't have those links. Sorry.
Fair enough. But no, and listen, this is, and Mario, correct me if I'm wrong, an MSP's greatest fear, worst nightmare, the thing we all hope will never happen. Right,
Yeah.
Mario? Mario, do you ever lose sleep over this at night?
All the time. All the
Because
time.
you say in your pitch every day, so you guys can sleep better at night. I imagine that's because, like me, you
Because
lose sleep over this.
we take it for them. We
Yeah.
absorb it for them. And this, that's the biggest thing that I got from our episode 34 is the community and the
Yes.
help that came and helped, Robert. And for me, I did sleep a little better at night knowing that, God forbid that ever happens, to me, is that there is that lifeline, there's that community that of people that not only do I want to join, but will be there to help as well, in the event something like that happens, and that's the biggest thing. That's kind of like that gave me a little bit of breathing room, knowing that, what, it may not be the end of every, the world if something like that ever does.
Hey, Justin, do you mind if I press into this just a little bit?
Sure.
So I know there's probably, well, I don't know, 40 to 50,000 MSPs in the US. Who knows whether that number is real or not, but it's a lot. Would
It's a
we all
lot.
agree that
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
there's tons of us. We're like, Mario and I are like pizzeria shops in New York City. There's like three
Exactly.
on every corner.
Yeah.
So there's tons of us out there, and I always feel like, oh, lots of us are connected to communities and go to conferences. And what I, what I was disturbed to learn from some, from people with greater insight in this information than I, is that there are a vast majority of MSPs that are not plugged into the community, that don't go to events, that don't have an online connection with other people even. And to me, if you want to do one thing to protect your business better, it is simply that. Just start making connections and friends with other MSPs, not in an adversarial or competitive way, but just, hey, we're neighbors, or you're in Ohio, I'm in New York. We met online. Let's get friendly with each other, simply because there's going to be a day when we need each other. And the biggest mistake that I've seen MSPs make is not investing in community.
11 years ago, Robert, I was living that world where I was completely isolated. In fact, I did not know that communities existed where I could interface with other business owners, let alone other competitive, right, IT companies. Um, I joined a community back then. That's how I met Mario eventually. And it was life changing. And that wasn't, we haven't yet had to draw on what you did through community, but I have been through some shit in my life, and non-technical, personal, other stuff we're not going to get into today.
Well, that's important too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the community saved me. I will tell you, it was, I wouldn't be in business, and I'll leave it at that. I went to some very dark places, and community is absolutely what pulled me through. So, because of the importance of that subject, I'm glad you brought it up. And now we're going to put a pin in it because I want to end on that note. And I want to dive into a subject that's slightly less boring, but it is something that I have become passionate about since talking to you back in episode 34. So I remember asking you, Robert, you've been through this. Like, this is what I'm always trying to get out of people. You've been in the trenches. You fought the battle and you won, by the way. You came out on top. Scarred, sure. Limbs severed, whatever. But you came out. PTSD, I'm 100% sure there's got to be some long lasting
There
emotional,
is.
psychological. And by the
Absolutely.
way, you're welcome to talk about any of that you would like. What came out of that conversation for me is like, Robert, having gone through all of that, what would you have done different, or what did you learn? Or I don't remember how I worded it. And you said one word, you said frameworks.
Yeah, it was and again, I only name names not to plug people or plug companies, but
Plug
just simply
away.
to show you my path. It was at Right of Boom, the
Okay.
very first Right of Boom in February of 2022. So this was about 6 or 7 or 8 months after I saw cybersecurity conference. I was very interested for very good reasons, because I just had my butt kicked. And I was like, I got to go to this thing to kind of learn. And I was invited on stage. It was it was the second time that I spoke publicly on stage in front of a live audience about what had happened to us. And met and made friends with a gentleman by the name of Eric Woodard. He runs a company called ProTech and MSP out in Salt Lake City. Amazing friend of mine today, that, the silver linings in these types of things is, I don't know if I would have made friends with and have made a connection with Eric had it not been for our mutual experiences. But he had been through a horrible story similar to ours 2 years prior. And as I was sitting there with him in this conference, he was like, hey, like, are you using CIS Controls? Now, again, I'm not here to advocate for them for CIS Controls.
I
But
am, just for the record.
well, I mean, I will, if you
Yeah.
ask me my opinion, I'm not trying to do that here and trying to convince the world to go sign up. But, and I know that Mario has maybe a slightly different opinion on this, and that's cool, but I don't follow that framework to the letter. What I've done is I've used it, at least initially, to become my filter. so
Yes.
that when I walk the showroom floors and when I get emails and phone calls and somebody plops something on my desk and says, you got to try this tool. Like, this is the best. It's going to, provide you 150% protection, right? And I'm being facetious there with the 150. Or maybe sarcastic, I don't know which. But the CIS controls became a tool for me to understand where I ought to be focusing my attention when building a good cybersecurity plan to protect my customers. And it gave me a good education on this is what good cybersecurity looks like, right? Now, is it the best? I don't know. Is it the only? Definitely not. There's a lot of different ways you can look at it. But again, like I said, it's become a filter for me and it helped me identify the areas where I had gaps so that I can say, I need to stop chasing control number 18, for example. But I really ought to be chasing a solution that fits in a control 5 or 6 because I had a massive hole there, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so that has enabled me to more intelligently operate my business, to build a pricing package and solution set around. So it had to make sense from a business perspective, but it also had to make sense from a security perspective. And like I said, a framework, pick your poison, will help you at least land in those two areas well, to take those circles and and apply the Venn diagram and meet in that middle somewhere of here's what I think I can sell my customers, what they have an appetite for, what they have a budget for, and here are really the hardcore minimum things they need to have.
So you hit on something. You mentioned that you don't follow it exactly. I don't remember your wording perfectly,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
so well, here's the truth of it,
close,
Robert.
but not 100%, right?
There's and forgive me, I don't remember the exact number of um, protections. That's not what they call them because I'm going to draw a blank because I'm thinking. You've got controls, which are like chapters, no, but then you have subsets, which are called something else.
You're making me draw a blank now too.
So, anyways, there's like 144 or 150
It's
of these things.
156, I think,
50.
right? Because
Okay.
there's 18
Yeah.
controls, 3 implementation groups, and as you go
Right.
from basic to medium to advanced, you have to check, you check them all off, right? And I'm not advocating somebody do all of them.
That's my point.
Too
You
much.
can't. You
Yeah,
can't.
too much.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I haven't been able to do every single one of them, but some of them, it's almost common sense that you have to have in place. Like 2FA, it's certain things that you have to have in place. Some other ones that are tough to do or tough to do for every single customer and stuff like that. It's hard to really just take out the checklist and say, I can't move forward unless I have this checked off.
Yeah. Well, you can, but you have to at least acknowledge that I don't have that, and that's a deficiency. Let me give you a for instance. I think this is the classic one. Control 1 and 2 are all about inventory, right? You can't protect what you don't know about, right? And I know this sounds very basic and very obvious, right? Common sense. Of course, how can I protect, if I'm protecting only 20 machines, but there's really 30, how can I really protect it, right? In cybersecurity, we say, if I can't protect everything, then I can protect nothing. Like inventory, which is actually really hard, by the way.
It is.
It's super hard, but it's control 1 and 2 for a reason, because forget everything else. Like, if you don't know what you're protecting, how are you going to protect anything, right? So to me, that was very eye-opening that, I needed to engage with a product beyond my RMM that was going to be able to provide me additional details about what's sitting in that network, right? Or
And
what's
for
in their cloud environment, right?
for the business owners out there who don't know what an RMM is, that's like our remote management and monitoring, remote monitoring and management. I don't remember which word comes first, but it's what we use to manage the devices that we are aware of. Correct. What it doesn't do great is tell us what devices are out there that we're not aware of. People bring a laptop in and plug it in. We may or may not know that. Wireless access points, we probably don't know that unless we have specialty tools. RMM doesn't do that, and a lot of us just rely on that. So yeah, inventory is super huge, and it's not just physical, by the way. Within those first two controls you're talking about, we need an inventory of the software. That's fun.
Well, right?
If you got a network of 20 computers that you just mentioned, how many applications are you going to find if you inventory that software? hundreds, thousands? I mean, it's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
when we onboard customers, we ask them, what are your major line of business applications? And they'll tell us, like, I'm going to make something up, right? They'll tell us the 3 or 4, and then we go and install our tool sets and we start pulling reports and go, it's not 3.
Right.
It's more like, it's not 3 or 4. I think they meant to say 34.
34.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because even if you ask an MSP how many tools they have, they
Oh
will
God. Yeah.
either lie to themselves or lie to you by saying, oh, it's only like 12 or 15, right?
Yeah.
And most of us are running, 40, 50 tools. And if you don't believe me, go do your own inventory right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we switched, platforms and stuff like that, and we planned, along the way. We're like, all right, we need to, move this, we need to copy this. I need people to copy over this stuff, whatever. And then halfway through, we're like, shit, we forgot about all this other stuff, so we got to like start over. A lot of it, you kind of either take for granted, you forget about, or you just
forget
kind of,
about, yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, it's running itself. You don't think about it.
Yep.
Well,
I'll
it's
scare you
not
even
easy.
more. Go put your monthly fee that you pay for all those tools next to that number and go add that up.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, whoa, hold on a second, right?
I just got depressed and I won't be able to sleep tonight. So frameworks, I think, are key. At least, like I said, when you mentioned that, it kind of changed my whole perspective on this. And the problem with frameworks, like I mentioned, is that there's a ton of them just within CIS that you mentioned, and then there's a shit ton of frameworks that may or may not apply to various industries and government regulations and stuff like that. So it can get overwhelming fast. But you've got to find something that you're measuring against. And if it's not, we kind of touched on community. We're going to deep dive on it here in a minute. But before I got into frameworks, my framework was my community. And so it's interfacing with guys like Mario and Bryan, who is at a goddamn golf tournament today. Mario or Bryan, like what the hell? Anyways, he can't be here. But it's
terrible. It's not terrible, by the way, Justin. I mean,
no, because he's supposed to be here talking to us.
No. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about
the community.
noted,
I'm still talking about Bryan, damn it. He's not here and he's supposed to be. Yeah, no, you're correct. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
At least use community. Like, don't just make up this crap on your own, because guess what? I don't care how smart you are. You're not that smart, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I would go to conventions. Mario and I walked the halls. We did an episode, Mario, right, where we walked the halls and we interviewed the vendors who are promising that 150%. That's all bullshit. But we have to then figure out, regardless of what best practice standard framework we're following, we've got to figure out what tool, what vendor, what product, what strategy best implements the solution that we're trying, the outcome that we're looking for.
The community that, me and Bryan